Welcome back. And now we are with our special guest, UN Rapporteur Francesca Albanese, who is here with us, giving us her time. And like this, my first question to you is that at the emergency conference in The Hague to stop the genocide in Gaza, you state, might this meeting in Colombia mark a historic moment when states rise to do what is right? Why do you think it took 2 years to move from denunciations to collective actions? And what has also changed?
I would be cautious in the sense that we are not there yet. I will say that I see concrete measures collectively taken in order to stop the genocide when I see them. And I did say that this is an historical moment because it's true, because countries from the global majority, the global south, have come forward, first of all, doing concrete things. And Colombia and South Africa are two of the states who have been the most daring in taking concrete measures, for example, suspending the transfers of certain goods, etc. More needs to be done. What I think is really revolutionary right now in the current political constellation in the world, what is really important sorry, can I say that again? What I think it's really potentially revolutionary of the Hague group is that it's bringing states together to do the right thing, not to transfer weapons, not to offer ports that transfer goods that can be detrimental to the Palestinians, particularly armaments, and then offering spaces for accountability, so to enforce international law, to arrest and prosecute those who have been indicted, for example, by crimes by the International Criminal Court, responding to the ICJ advisory opinion, which is asking basically the cessation of relations that can be harmful to the Palestinians in the occupied Palestinian territory. Of course, we know that the occupation cannot be separated from the rest of Israel, neither in terms of politics nor in terms of economics. So I do see a huge potential, but the potential needs to be translated into an act. And for it to happen, member states need to be really engaged, committed, and think, really, it's like closing your eyes and doing the right thing. And this is what member states have to do. And in the case of Colombia, for example, and other states, including in the region, states in the global south, this includes suspending the free trade agreements with Israel, suspending the transfer, the sale of natural resources like coal. It means stop buying weapons and security and surveillance services, which Israel tests on the Palestinians and then sells. And then, of course, cut ties, economic, financial, military, strategic ties with Israel. This is what needs to be done right now.
And during your tenure as a special rapporteur on the occupied Palestinian territory, you published several reports, but your latest one, The Economy of Genocide and Unresolved Settlements, led the U.S. to impose sanctions on you. As a human rights advocate, how do you receive these unilateral measures?
First of all, let me explain why this report hit a nerve. I wrote that Israel has over the years maintained an economy of the occupation made of using private actors to advance the displacement and replacement of the Palestinians. For example, Israel would have not been able to displace the Palestinians without the weapons used to brutalize and terrorize them, without the construction machinery used to demolish their homes, to control their land, to uproot the orchards, for example, the olive trees, and then to build infrastructure of segregations from wall checkpoints and the surveillance techniques that have been, and devices that have been used against the Palestinians. And also, the replacement pillar is made of private sector complicity, because, for example, imagine the construction of settlements and the settlement infrastructure. It requires companies and providing services and helping build this infrastructure, but also things of the goods and services. This has needed businesses, companies, both to produce and to circulate these goods, the goods produced in the occupied Palestinian territory. And of course, this has helped replace the Palestinians. But also I would like to make the comment that what happens in the settlements is extremely connected to the life in Israel. Israel maintained the colonies in order to have 10% of its population living with very convenient housing conditions in the occupied Palestinian territory. Israel exploits all the water and other natural resources in the occupied Palestinian territory, depriving the Palestinians. And all these, which is an economy of the occupation, would have not been possible without the involvement of other actors that would appear neutral, like banks, pension funds, or even universities. Now, these would have already been exposed the companies to violations of international law and possibly liability, because they operate within, an occupation that is deemed unlawful because it violates the right of self-determination of the Palestinians and translates into the imposition of apartheid and racial segregation. However, after the beginning of the genocide, these companies have announced their support, and without their engagement, the genocide would have not been possible, not possible with this destructive impact. For example, the weapons that have been used to control the Palestinians across the occupied Palestinian territory have continued to be provided to Israel. Israel has customized them. Israel has used the services and advice from the military companies and arms manufacturers. Israel has used technology in order to make these, to customize these weapons and make them even more lethal, like unmanned technology, customized radars and killing drones or quadcopters, etc. And of course, for each of the sectors that I investigated, I provided names. I named 48 companies. 20% of them are Americans, are in the US, sorry. And then, of course, I've made recommendations. So the position of the United States since mid-May, so after I had put on notice the companies, has been that I've engaged in anti-Semitic activities, because how do I dare to allude to the fact that Israel or anything related to Israel can be profitable, or someone can exploit the crimes committed against the Palestinians. I mean, this is a very twisted argument, and of course it has not stopped there, because eventually the United States has imposed the sanctions on me, which is appalling. Again, this is a precedent, the first case of this sort in the occupied, in the history of the United Nations. Hopefully the last one, but also it must be reversed, because it's a dangerous assault against the privileges and immunities of the United Nations.
And also about the decision of the U.S. government, do you think, or well, who do you think? The U.S. administration is really targeting you personally, or the system itself, that is international law and international humanitarian law?
I've often said that although the attacks against me have felt very personal many times, they're not just about me. What happens to me happens to so many individuals who work to advance justice and respect for human rights for all, both Palestinians and Israelis, but we are talking of rights for all and not privileges for some. And And therefore, sorry, I forgot the question.
If the US is targeting you or the system.
Yeah. No, sorry. And so, yeah, attacking me somewhat attacks the system, sends a very clear message, aiming possibly to silence critical voices, to silence advocacy, fact-finding, demand for accountability. But eventually my point is that while this might have a scary impact on us and a chilling effect on our relations, this is the moment to stand in solidarity. Solidarity means, the etymology of solidarity is interesting because solidum means united. We need to stand united in the face of these mafia-style intimidation techniques. Because only by standing united and not getting intimidated, the system will finally be won over.
And to the next one question. We report that 3 UN commissioners investigating Israel's crimes and genocide in Palestine has resigned due to the pressure and threats.
Sorry. They have not resigned under pressure or threat at all. And not only they said it, I'm 100% sure that this is the case because they are very solid commissioners who have been untouched and really unaffected. You have a senior judge who has been at the forefront of the exposure of genocides and other crimes from apartheid, from South Africa to Rwanda and The Hague. And frankly, of course, it's been heavy for Justice Pillay to be disrespected as she is, but she's a tough cookie, so she had health issues, so she stepped down. And the other commissioners, there was one commissioner who has not been active, serving actively for other reasons. And so the only commissioner that remained is Commissioner Sidoti, who just said, we give the opportunity to the Human Rights Commission, to the Human Rights Council to appoint a commission ex novo. So I think it was very mature and generous what he did, and I truly hope that it will be confirmed because he's been an amazing commissioner, very vocal, principled, and not easy to intimidate at all.
Well, and in your personal position, you have chosen to stand and raise your voice, but do you fear any reprisal from political and also economical actors involved?
Well, they just imposed the sanctions that will prevent me from holding assets and having credit cards and will impair my private and professional life significantly. Not sure what else they can do, frankly. But I would say, look, I've been mandated by the United Nations, by the Human Rights Council, to serve in this position. My responsibility, my mandate entails to look at the violations of international law committed by Israel in the occupied Palestinian territory. Why Israel? Because Israel has been committing crimes since 1967 in the land that it has occupied, what remains of Palestine, since even before Palestinian authorities de jure or de facto existed, Palestinian Authority or Hamas or others. So this is the reality. This is what I do. I look at the facts, I look at the norms, I conclude with legal analysis, and then I share my findings to the United Nations. This is what I'm supposed to do. I'm not an advocate. I'm just a lawyer who tries to be as professional as possible. And yeah, some member states have punished me for that and my integrity, but the majority no. The majority, and I've seen an increasing consensus, an increasing support, and absolute respect and love for this mandate, which is pretty unprecedented.
And what you have said, Israel has committed a lot of crimes in this territory, and over the years, the United Nations has had multiple resolutions in favor of the Palestinian people, seeking to resolve the crisis in the Middle East and stop the genocide in Gaza. Yet Israel has violated all of them, and continues massacring civilians. Many analysts, human rights defenders, and citizens worldwide believe that UN has failed Palestine. Do you agree with these statements?
Yeah, I do. I do, because after 70 years, if you're not part of the solution, you're part of the problem. However, I would like to reflect on the fact that the United Nations is not an organization that exists independently from member states. It's made of member states. And the problem is not even, the majority of member states has passed a number of resolutions because there's been almost an inflation of resolutions by the General Assembly, but simply because nothing has advanced, and mostly because of the veto of the US in the Security Council, or just the lack of action. I mean, it's not just the US. I mean, look at Europe. Europe has just renewed, reconfirmed and not suspended that disgrace that is the EU Association Agreement, which has a clause that imposes the revision or rescission of the agreement based on if there are human rights violations. So there has been an ideological affinity with Israel from a number of states, and then connivance, complicity, or other interests that have led to a sort of a paralysis of the international community when it comes to implementation of resolutions or international law to Palestine, or Israel-Palestine.
And if it were in your power, what would you change in the United Nations system or in multilateral relations to prevent these violations?
Enforcement mechanisms. We cannot afford living in a world where might makes right, where we have norms and member states are the first to violate them with impunity. I would like to see immediate consequences for governments who violate international law, and I would like to see also more capacity to empathize. I would like to see the end of double standards and the end of exceptionalism and the triumph of universalism for real, where the rights of one are the rights of all after all. This is what I would like to see.
Well, thank you very much, Francesca, for being here with us in this special interview. Thank you very much.
Gracias.
Well, and this was the end of this special interview with UN Rapporteur Francesca Albanese. Like this, we have come to the end of this news briefing. You can find this and many other stories on our website, and also join us on our socials. For teleSUR English and from the South, I'm Ana Marrero. Thank you for watching.